Is it over for the Dallas Mavericks and Anthony Davis? Coop did good. All that and more on Big Vibe Sports. Let's go! Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Tony Vibinwell, and the Dallas Mavericks lose another close game to the Utah Jazz. They also lose Anthony Davis in the process to a hand injury, and I've been asking myself all season with Anthony Davis on this team, can we actually be a contender? Can we actually count on Anthony Davis to be the person and the player that he is supposed to be on the court night in and night out? Most of his career, if you look at it through the regular season, he has not. Surprisingly, in the playoffs, he has actually only missed like one or a couple of games. It's kind of incredible. Cooper Flagg played amazing tonight. There are many things to look forward to and to be positive and optimistic about, but losing Anthony Davis to yet another injury in a game just has me feeling like I don't want to be a part of this anymore. He's an incredible talent. He really is. And any game he plays, you can tell he has a dominant force on both ends, the defense and the offensive end. But I just can't count on him. I don't think any Mavs can count on him. Whether you're a coach or a player or an analyst or a fan, you just can't do it. It's tough. It's tough. And I just have to take a breath for a minute because this is something that we dealt with Luka. We dealt with this with Luka as well. Whenever Luka was here on this team, the last couple of seasons, he just dealt. We called them the Luka boo-boos, right? There was something that almost every game, and you can even watch the Lakers now, you can see almost every game he's kind of wincing and grimacing, and there's always something going on. And yes, it's a physical sport, don't get me wrong. Like, this is the top tier talent in the world playing together and colliding night in, night out, 82-game season, more of that in the playoffs. It even ramps up and gets even more physical in the playoffs. And man, anyways, the Dallas Mavericks lose to the Utah Jazz for the second time in a row. And this is a team that are not very good in the Utah Jazz. They're not very good. They don't have a great record. But what they do have are young, talented players as well as some seasoned vets. You have Keontae George, who has been going off this season. You also have Lauri Markkanen, who has been steady in his career and continues to develop more and more as an outside-inside threat. Cooper Flagg showed up big tonight. You also had a Klay Thompson game tonight. And Anthony Davis did as much as he could do until 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, going out with a hand injury, and it was tough. We're going to get into this game, and let me know what you think. Do you think it's over for the Dallas Mavericks and Anthony Davis? Leave a comment. Let me know. How are you feeling about this season? How are you feeling about Anthony Davis on this team? Are you one of those ones that want to see Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, and Cooper Flagg play together? Or are you one of those fans who thinks that this experiment of Anthony Davis should be done? We should trade him before the end of the trade deadline. There's a lot of speculation that he could be going to Atlanta, could be going to the Raptors, could be going to Golden State Warriors. There's a lot of speculation up in the air, and this may be the time. Will we even have a chance to trade him now that he's injured? Who knows? This is the Anthony Davis experiment at its finest. Woo! Yes. This game was back and forth. It was an up and down game. The Mavericks started out pretty much like they always do when they have this big lineup. I'm going to go through the game like I did last episode, where we kind of go over the stats towards the end. But throughout the beginning, I'm going to go through my notes, kind of let you know what I saw throughout the game, and we're going to go from there. So let's see. We're going to scroll this down. So, yeah, the score was 116 to 114. Let's go ahead and scroll up so that you can see the stats as I kind of go through my notes here. All right. To start the game, before we get into the nitty and gritty of what happened throughout the game, I'm going to give you some fun facts and fun stats that I found throughout the broadcast and even before the broadcast as they were kind of like priming the game to get started. All right. So the Jazz have the worst defense in the league against opposing teams per game, as well as 3-point percentage. The Mavs and the Jazz are both in the top 5 in pace. Kevin Love and Klay Thompson actually grew up playing Little League together, and they've been friends for over 20 years. I thought that was pretty interesting. This was the 900th career game for Klay Thompson. He's had 900 career games in the NBA. That is a feat. I mean, with all the injury histories of all of these players, Klay Thompson himself having major injuries and being out multiple years due to injury, man, to have 900 games, you got to tip your cap to him. You got to tip your captain's cap to the cap. No cap. All right. So the 25-26 Jazz, that's this season, have the most assists per game in their team's history. So it kind of gives you an idea of what kind of chemistry this team has been working with on the offensive end and kind of why they were giving Dallas so much trouble in this game and in past games. So to start off, the first quarter starts. The Mavs are starting their big lineup again for the third straight game. They have Gafford and AD playing together with Cooper Flagg, with Max Christie and Najee Marshall. With this lineup, it never fails. By the end of the first quarter, you can almost expect them to be down about 10 points. They just don't quite create the same type of flow for everybody in the offense to actually kind of get settled in to the beginning of the game. And I think that's ultimately what's happening with this team night in and night out as they start these bigger lineups, as Jason Kidd starts these bigger lineups. So the Mavs, they start their big lineup. They have Max, AD, and Coop score early. They actually get early buckets right away. Davis is aggressive early and often on the offensive end. Coop hits an early 3 off of a Najee assist. But right away, as soon as that little bitty run starts, the Jazz counter right away. They storm back with a small run of their own powered by Kevin Love, who gets a couple of shots and a couple of assists to 3-point shooters. The Jazz are playing with pace. They continue to build their lead with aggressive offensive play. Substitutions late in that quarter. Klay comes in and he hits back-to-back buckets. That kind of starts the simmering of the Klay Thompson game that I was talking about. Coop hits a 3 for his 10th point in the quarter. And then on the consecutive play after that, the ensuing play, he gets ripped by Kyle Anderson after a turnover in the open back. And so basically the Jazz hit back-to-back threes off of those turnovers. And the Mavs go down 34-29 to the Jazz in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Nembhard starts with Klay, Coop, Gaff, and Caleb Martin. Klay hits an early 3. The Mavs are missing their threes, but they're taking them more freely. That's something that I've been really encouraged by some of these past few games, to see the Mavs start to try to put up more threes. I've been talking about it each and every episode. This team struggles from behind the arc to have the confidence. And there was a moment in that first quarter where Cooper Flagg hits a 3. The momentum is behind him. He gets the ball again, and he's primed and ready to just take the next 3. It's right there. But Kyle Anderson is like slowly closing out on him. He's called slow-mo for a reason. He's slowly coming out on him, and Cooper Flagg hesitates and does a pump fake instead of just going straight up, because there's no room for Kyle Anderson to block his shot at all. But anyways, Cooper Flagg hesitates, pump fakes, and then fakes like he's going to drive a couple of times. And then finally, once he does commit to the drive, slow-mo is already locked in on him, strips him, takes the cookies, and gets a 3-pointer to the corner for one of his other teammates. And that's kind of one of those moments for Cooper Flagg as a rookie, learning how to take what the defense is giving you and also believe that it's okay to take the same shot over and over if they're just going to give it to you. I mean, might as well take it. You know what I'm saying? Let's go back to the second quarter. The Mavs were missing their threes, but at least they were taking them. They start 1-8 before 2 max free throws, so they were down on a losing run. The Jazz went up on basically on an 8-1 run before Max Christie hit a couple of free throws that were actually the first free throws of the game for Dallas, so they didn't even get free throws until the second quarter. Klay has his 5th assist after a 3 from Nembhard, so Klay was cooking. Klay was dishing and diming. He was hitting threes. He was hitting mid-range jumpers. And Klay Thompson has these games sometimes where he just has a certain matchup that he likes. He's been in this league for many years. He's been to all of these arenas over and over and over again, and you can tell that's something that the Mavericks really enjoy and thrive on whenever he's able to hit his shots with succession, when he's able to have confidence and bring more confidence to this team as a shooter. And I think, like I said in my last episode, in the last game that they played, you could see that hopefully some of that confidence as a shooter is rubbing off on some of these younger players. The Jazz, unfortunately, have incredible fast break. Like I mentioned earlier in this episode, that the Jazz and the Mavericks are top 5, both in pace for the season. And that was written all over this game for the Jazz. Anytime that the Mavericks went on a little run, right away, the Jazz would turn around and then bucket after bucket after bucket. And you're like, why isn't anybody getting back on defense? Like, why isn't anybody staying with their man or communicating on defense? And I think, that's just something that this team for the Dallas Mavericks have been dealing with. Is there is a defensive identity. You have defensive players, and that's what this team was kind of built to be. To quote Nico Harrison, defense wins championships. And how many times have we heard that? Many times growing up, I'm sure. But in this game, in this current legacy of the NBA, you have to be able to score at a high level. I mean, there are teams putting up 150 points, and this team has barely scratched the surface they're barely getting over the hump of 100 points sometimes. So yeah, it's been frustrating, but there are some bright spots. And Cooper Flagg is a young rookie who continues to shine in sometimes some of the dimmest moments as this team goes on throughout the season. And we'll talk more about him as we go. So the Mavs go on a little bit of a run towards the end of the second quarter to bring the game back close after they were down by quite a bit. In that second quarter, they actually go on a run themselves. AD and Najee off of fast breaks get back-to-back buckets, back-to-back dunks, and a beautiful alley-oop from Najee Marshall to Anthony Davis, which really starts to spark some joy and some competition between this team and the Jazz. And then Klay Thompson towards the end hits a clutch 3 to end the second quarter. The Jazz are still up though, 58 to the Mavs 55 right before halftime. But after watching that first half, you kind of came away with okay, this team has what it takes to beat this Jazz team. They stack up with them well, especially with AD in the game. They don't really have a low post presence that can match up with Anthony Davis or slow down someone like Cooper Flagg, who also has great size, who can get into the paint basically at will with his drives and with his turnaround pull-ups, with his floaters and with his hook shots off of the bank. He's definitely someone that was thriving in this game left and right. So that was something that was very encouraging in the first half. To start the second half, to start this third quarter, you have the Mavs taking an early lead with back-to-back threes from Najee and Max. Both teams trade leads back and forth all throughout this third quarter. Coop has 6 dimes and 7 boards after an assist to a Max 3 in the corner. And right away, the broadcast starts speaking Mark Followell, who is fantastic. Devin Harris, who does a great job as a color commentator. They both start talking about Coop is on his triple-double watch because he already has double digits as well as 6 dimes and 7 boards. And so you're like, oh, man, like, is Coop going to get his first triple-double? Maybe. We shall see. We shall see. Brandon Williams actually goes out with an illness after a fall where he lost the ball in the second. They said on the broadcast it was the third quarter, but in the second quarter, he was on this drive and they actually replayed it a couple of times to check who had the ball last and where the ball touched. And it actually just showed that Brandon Williams just kind of fell on his own as he was driving. And you could just tell he just wasn't right throughout the game. He kind of he was a little more lethargic. Like normally when you see Brandon Williams, he is just a blur. I heard somebody call him Blur Williams, which I think is a great nickname because that guy just flies. He's like the fastest player on our team. And he really gives the Mavs a boost off the bench. All of a sudden you have this like super quick guy who comes into the game and you have to like keep up with him, you know? It's like you have to. So with B-Well out, that meant that Nembhard was getting more opportunity. And I think with Nembhard, as I've spoken on before, Nembhard is one of those point guards where he knows how to get everybody their shots. He kind of knows how to give easy looks. As a true pass first point guard, that is something that he does very naturally. And I'm really impressed by some of the things that I've seen this season between him and Cooper Flagg, especially because they have just an unspoken bond when it comes to learning how and when it comes to knowing how to get the ball to each other. You could see that whenever Nembhard and Cooper are in the game together, they just give each other easy looks. Nembhard hits a three, Coop hits an easy layup off of a Nembhard bounce pass. And towards the end of this third quarter, there was a sweet fast break moment where Coop gets the rebound. He's driving quickly down the lane. This is one of his superpowers that we've come to understand about Cooper Flagg is that when he's in the open court, he's almost virtually unstoppable. Similar to a Giannis, but not quite with the upper body strength, but definitely with the speed and with the care with the ball. He can speed dribble through bigger defenders and just kind of power over smaller defenders through the open court. That's something that he did on this play. He passes it to Nembhard on the side. Nembhard, without taking a dribble, takes 2 steps and then lobs it to Coop for a huge alley-oop slam. And right away, like, that was another showcased moment of what this team can be in the future if they keep these young pieces together with Nembhard, with Max Christie, Cooper Flagg, obviously. And there is something special brewing between the chemistry of all of these guys. It's just when you have Anthony Davis in there, he kind of dictates the pace of the game sometimes for the Mavericks. And so they're kind of playing 2 different versions of basketball. Once AD comes out, the ball starts flowing a lot more. They're not just trying to feed it to AD where he may or may not get the ball, or the ball get tipped, or the ball go out of bounds, or have a turnover, those sorts of things. And you're not having to force feed Anthony Davis to keep him engaged on the defensive end. And I think that's something that this team in the future, if they do not have Anthony Davis, they will have to build a new identity. And I don't think it will take very long for them to do that because they're already doing it with him missing so many games this year. So the Mavs in that third quarter actually up by 1 point, 89-88. Going into the fourth quarter, Klay starts things off with an instant 3. Klay's already cooking. He's already had assists. He's already had multiple threes. And you could tell he's just feeling it. So he starts that fourth quarter because he's hot. Jason Kidd is like, I'm going to keep Klay in the game because he's actually giving us something. He's giving us shooting with no hesitation. That's something that Klay Thompson is always going to bring. You can expect little to no hesitation from Klay Thompson. He hits that 3. Then right after that, Coop hits a 3. And I'm like, let's go. We shooting threes now, baby. We a 3-point shooting team. What twos? Twos? What are twos? I don't know what twos are. I'm chew. Mavs go on a run with Coop on triple-double watch, continuing. He would actually become the youngest player in NBA history if he were to get a triple-double in this game. He also has a few games to go where he has some runway to still become the youngest player to receive a triple-double. He unfortunately does not make the triple-double this game, but you can tell right away in this game and earlier in the season that he has all the tools to make it happen. He just needs a little bit of luck, a little bit of help from his teammates actually hitting their shots, and he probably would have had his triple-double if his teammates hit a few more of their threes, because he had a couple of wide open looks to Najee Marshall in the corner. He had a couple of looks to AD. He had a couple of looks to Ryan Nembhard that didn't go through. So he would have had his triple-double, and that is something special. That is something that not many rookies can say or do, and he would be one of them. So to continue in this fourth quarter, let's see. We are, yes. So Coop hits his three. Max actually hits a couple threes right after that. So like I said, they're cooking on these threes. Jazz counter with their own run, hitting threes and tough buckets. So just like that fast break starts cooking for the Jazz. They're hitting their buckets. Keontae George hits one. Sensabaugh hits one. And all of a sudden, the Jazz are right back into it. Whatever lead that the Mavs get, the Jazz just counter right away. Coop hits a crazy 0.5 second shot clock buzzer beater turnaround fadeaway three-pointer to go into a timeout, go into a timeout break, a commercial break. And when they come back for the commercial break, they said that it wasn't good. But to see him take that shot and to make that shot with 0.5 seconds shows you the potential of what Cooper Flag can bring. Pretty much anything and everything. He can dish, he can dime, he can rebound, he can play defense, he can score with some of the best of them already at 19. This is crazy. This is some of the best I've seen a young player. I mean, Luka Doncic was just as phenomenal. Watching him start out his Mavericks career, you saw these flashes of triple doubles and just high scoring games, and you're like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And how is somebody that good that early in their career? It's crazy. So the Jazz, of course, they're continuing to counter. They're continuing to go back and forth with the Mavericks. This is when Anthony Davis has his injury. Lauri Markkanen catches the ball on the right side. Anthony Davis goes to square up on him. He head fakes and starts to drive on Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis recovers, puts his hand like this because Lauri Markkanen's kind of getting close up to his chest to bump him as he's driving. And Anthony Davis's hand just kind of scrunches into his jersey, and Lauri Markkanen's force just kind of like crunches his fingers together. And instantly, Anthony Davis grabs his hand, stops on the play. Lauri Markkanen's still driving to the rim and gets an easy layup, and Anthony Davis just holds his hand and starts to walk out of bounds. And you're like, oh no, here we go. And sure enough, he just goes straight. He actually stops. He shakes his hand. He gets back into the play, first of all. Lauri Markkanen scores. They inbound the ball. Jason Kidd is looking at Anthony Davis like, hey, you should probably come out. Anthony Davis waves him off and is like still like holding his hand and is like starting to walk back onto the offensive end. They're getting across half court. He goes to like set a screen, I think for Cooper Flag or Ryan Nembhard, and he doesn't even touch the ball. I think they miss the shot, and they come back down on a fast break. Anthony Davis is trying to run. He's actually catches up to the play, and then Lauri Markkanen just gets another easy basket on the other end. And Anthony Davis is like nowhere in the play. He tries to recover, but you can tell with his hand, he's just not even in the play. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in Jason Kidd's quotes after the game. I thought it was something interesting that I heard in the way that he kind of would approach it in the future, something to learn from. But when Anthony Davis goes out, you can just see they kind of do a replay of it. They see him, they show him leave the bench and go to the locker room, and before he even finishes going through the tunnel, he stops and like bends over in pain and is just holding his hand. And Oh man, you just, as a Mavericks fan, seeing Anthony Davis get injured over and over just before even the All-Star break, you're just thinking to yourself like, is this it? Is it over? Like, can it be over? This is stuff that we used to deal with Kristaps Porzingis. Oddly enough, he was one of those players where he had so much potential on the court. He would come in and he would blaze for like 20 and 30 points. He would hit threes. He would have highlight dunks. He would get crazy blocks. And then he would do that for like 2 or 3 games. And then on the 4th game, he would get injured and be out for like 2 weeks. And you'd just be like, when are we going to get a running mate for Luka Doncic? And it just never happened. I guess you had it with JB. Of course, JB leaves for the Knicks. Anyways, I don't want to get too much down that road. To finish this game, the Mavs basically after AD goes out with a little over 2.5 minutes left in the game, you can tell they all just kind of were dazed and confused seeing Anthony Davis go out yet again. I think they probably all had it in their head, just like the rest of us. Like, is that it? Is it over for Anthony Davis? Because, I mean, you just saw this team turn the ball over. They just could not focus after that. And that was pretty much the end of the game. The Jazz just make big bucket after big bucket at the end of the game. They're locked in. They're hitting their threes. They're doing extra plays. They're using their hustle to make things happen and disrupt the Mavericks. And the Mavericks just couldn't pull it together in the end, and that's how it ends. The Jazz 116, the Mavs 114. And after the game, Jason Kidd basically said that this team had 20 turnovers, and that was one of the keys to losing the game. Anytime you have that many turnovers, it's very difficult to play on the road and actually come away with a dub, and rightfully so. He said basically that's our thing, to go through injuries and go through adversity and find ways to win, and tonight they just didn't do it. He said that Cooper Flagg played well with great looks and plays for himself and his teammates. Smart play. He's in talking about the AD injury. Somebody asked him about like, well, should you have called a timeout to get AD out of the game? And, you know, he wouldn't have given up those buckets and all that kind of stuff. And basically Jason Kidd said the smart thing to do would have been to foul to stop the play so that I could have gotten a substitution in there. And he said that's something that we'll learn from. That's something that we will develop in the future. I'm sure these younger players will understand these moments because they're having to go through an experiment and experience with Anthony Davis and other players that continue to get injured on this team. I bet that they will soon learn how to, as soon as something like that happens and you can see that Jason Kidd isn't going to call a timeout, they'll probably have a signal or a play or something that they can call to go ahead and kind of do an intentional foul, a light intentional foul to stop the play, get the hurt player off of the court to be assessed, and not have to burn a timeout, because sometimes those timeouts are crucial at the end of the game. Something else, the last couple of things that Jason Kidd said about this game was learning how to play in close games, the fact that the Mavericks are still the top team to play in close clutch games. They just have to learn how to win more of them, essentially. He said that losing B. Will and Anthony Davis throughout the game was tough, and that's one of the reasons why they had a hard time sustaining consistency and rhythm. And Keontae and Markkanen were tough to handle tonight, and both of them, and we'll talk about them and their stats right after this. So let's get into the stats. Again, just real quick, thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. If you have already subscribed, please leave a comment. Let me know if you enjoy content like this. Let me know if you would like to see different varieties of games. I'm planning on doing some live streams in the future, in the very near future, to kind of test out some of those capabilities on this channel. And let me know if you'd be interested in joining a live stream, chatting with me in the chat and watching the game with me. I think that'd be really fun to watch with my fellow Mavs fans and NBA fans, and kind of go through the ups and the downs of the game together. I think that'd be really fun. So if we were to look at these stats here, starting with the Dallas Mavericks, You have Cooper Flagg, who led all of the Mavericks in points with 26. He had 26, 8 assists, 10 rebounds, 3 steals, 1 block, and he was also 3 for 4 from the free throw line. He shot 10 for 18 field goals. He hit 3 for 6 of his threes. And like I said last game, to see Cooper Flagg shoot 5 or more threes in a game, any of these players to shoot 5 or more, that is something I will take every single day. Every single day, I will take more than 5 threes from you, please. More and more threes. I went to the gym today and shot a bunch of threes. I missed pretty much all of them, but I shot them. That's just something you have to do when you're playing against a bunch of people who like to shoot threes. You have to keep up the pace of the game, and sometimes you just have to do it. Anyways, Najee Marshall gave us 17. Max Christie gave you 16. Anthony Davis, 21, 4 assists, 11 rebounds. He was 10 for 20 from the floor, 6 for 10 assisted, 4 assisted. And, you know, it's tough, man. Anthony Davis is such a good player when he's on the floor, and he gives you so much. You can tell he is not a player that quits. He actually tries really, really hard, and that's why it is difficult to assess this situation with Anthony Davis sometimes, because you could tell he loves the game of basketball. You could tell he tries hard. He dominates when he's in there. But when is he going to be in there? Is he going to be in there long enough for your team to win consistently and to actually make it a deep run into the playoffs so that you can win a championship? Is he someone that you can win a championship with? That is the question. And I'm starting to believe maybe he's not. I mean, I had these thoughts before, but to see him go down with another injury just makes you feel like, man, the rest of this team, Daniel Gafford, look at this. Nothing. He basically did nothing all game. Now, I don't know if these stats are correct. This is from ESPN Analytics, and they're pretty spot on. He had 25 minutes. He did not shoot a field goal at all, but he had 7 rebounds. That is wild. I mean, I guess he really didn't score that much. I mean, I guess 8 or even attempt a shot. That's wild. Anthony Davis, though, he did his thing in the paint. Ryan Nembhard off the bench was a plus 13. He had 7 points, 4 assists. He gave you 2 rebounds. Brandon Williams had 2. Caleb Martin had 2. And then you have Klay Thompson with 23 points. Now, this is what you want to see from Klay off the bench. He gave you 28 minutes, 7 for 13, 6 of 11 from 3. Look at that. That is what we're talking about when we're talking about players who have the ability to shoot threes and shoot them with volume and shoot them with some efficiency. Klay had an excellent game tonight. He also gave you 3 for 3 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists with his dishing and diamond. So I pulled up the Anthony Davis injury. I wanted to kind of take a look at it. I wanted to add something to this episode so that we could kind of see something different than what I've done in the past. So let's just take a look. I believe I muted the sound, so I don't think you should be able to hear this. Oh, maybe you can. Hold on. Let's see here. I don't know. You may not be able to hear this, but I think I can on my end. So let me turn it down here. Let's see. Let's go back here. Let's go here. Just turn it down just in case. All right. So you can see already Lauri Markkanen is driving in right here. Anthony Davis puts his hand close to his chest, his left hand right now, and that is where the injury occurs. He continues to drive, and boom. He's not feeling it. He's not feeling good. Like squeezing his hand, like, God, you're like, no. But then he gets back in the game. He starts to go back. He's like, okay, I'm good. Yeah, okay. He's got his AD boo-boo. He had his AD boo-boo. He's good. But then they come back down after he misses the block, and they get another layup, and you can tell he's doubled over in pain. He's still not feeling it. And you're like, oh, man, he has not stopped squeezing that hand. He's not even trying. I mean, look at that. Oh, dang. Let's do that angle one more time. I think it was like right here. Oh, boop. Let's do it one more time. Okay. So this angle, left hand, boom. He's like, what just happened to my hand? Oh, man. I mean, I can't tell. It doesn't look like anything's sticking out. Sometimes you can see when somebody dislocates their finger. I've seen that happen in basketball games where you get a dislocation and somebody just comes over and like pops it back into place. But look, he is not feeling good, man. PJ's trying to rile the guys up. Come on, guys, it's okay. We're going to be all right. AD hurt just like me, but it's okay. We're going to be all right. And AD's like, nah, man, I got to get out of here. It hurts. Poor guy. He tries so hard, man. He really does. And look, he can't even make it to the back without doubling over and being like, damn. Oh, and see the rest of the team, they're all just kind of looking around. The other guys on the bench are like, here's a little slow-mo close-up. He kind of gets, it looks like Lauri Markkanen's jersey kind of, his like maybe his middle finger gets caught in the back of his jersey. And, that's tough, man. Well, it is what it is. Another Anthony Davis injury. This Dallas Mavericks team continues to deal with it. We'll see if it diminishes his current trade value. They've been in talks with the Hawks of potentially getting him to the Hawks. The Hawks actually just traded Trae Young to the Washington Wizards. I'm going to go ahead and pull up Tankathon because every time we lose, I think it'll probably be a good idea for me to just cover the losing odds and the pick potential for this year's draft coming up in the offseason and what pick the Dallas Mavericks may potentially hold. So Dallas is 14-24. They're behind the Clippers, whose pick will actually go to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Utah, who's right above that, who we just played. Charlotte, Brooklyn, Washington, Sacramento. New Orleans Pelicans, whose pick goes to Atlanta, who they've been wheeling and dealing and trying to get that Atlanta pick. If they do trade AD, who knows? I doubt that Atlanta's going to want to give up that pick at all for any reason because they're locked into the number 2 spot with, a New Orleans team that's young and developing, so they may stay there. And then Indiana has the number 1 odds right now. With Dallas being right there in the number 9th spot, that gives them about a 4% chance to get the number 1 pick. Last year, I think they had like 1 point something. Like it was below like 3% that they had to get the number 1, to move up and get the number 1 pick, and they actually did it. So anything's possible. They could do it. This team has issues, injuries, turnovers, bad chemistry at times on the court, plenty of chatter all around this team with a GM being fired in Nico Harrison, losing Luka Doncic, your generational foundational talent and player on this team. But the Dallas Mavericks have Cooper Flagg. So there's something to look forward to. The Dallas Mavericks have Max Christie. They have Nimby and Nimhard. They have players on this team that you can build around and start over if you wanted to. The question is it over for the Mavs and Anthony Davis? We shall see. Time will tell. We'll get a little bit of an update in the next day or two to find out. The Mavs play again on Saturday. Again, if you like content like this, please subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. Please hit a thumbs up and leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about this game and about the season. Let me know how you feel about Anthony Davis. And I'll see you guys next time. Keep vibing well in every way. I'm again your host, Tony Vibing Well. Keep doing what you do out there in the world. Spread good vibes. And I'll see you next time on Big Vibe Sports. Let's go.